Yeah, hello and welcome to this video which covers round 4 of this year's Tata Steel tournament. So let's get going. I'm going to show you some highlights of this round, and I'm not going to look at all the games, just to focus on the most important things. The game, let's start with the games I don't look at in detail. There was the game Hare Krishna Kayakin, which was a extremely boring affair. They traded off all that they had in some Italian game. I also won't look at the game Aronian Nepomniachtchi. Aronian got an interesting attacking position out of Benoni, and it was really interesting at first, but then there was a situation where both sides basically had to repeat moves. Sometimes it happens, both sides play sharply, but then there's a situation where not going for a draw would actually lead to bad consequences, and a draw was a fair result after 20-something moves. There also was the game Report with White against Wojciech. That also was quite interesting, but ultimately it ended in a draw. Report had some chances, but again, I don't want to show all games in this year's coverage and focus on the most important points that are relevant for the tournament standings. I want to, however, have a quick look at some moments here in the game between Giri and Andrejkin. We can go a little bit ahead and start with this position here on move 30. It's a very sharp situation, actually. Both kings are in some danger. The black king is quite open. We see ideas like checking on h8, for example. On the other hand, there is also something going on with white's king. He has a pin, and the king doesn't have many squares. In fact, there are some direct ideas here regarding perpetual checks. If you look at this position, it's white to move here. Black has just played rook a5. If white, for example, takes this, then there already is this perpetual check. I have muted the sounds. It's not. I'm kind of used to the sounds.
Check.
Now we have sound. Okay, so in the game, of course that didn't happen. White wanted to win, and after b7, White's position is excellent. He should win, and Giri, in fact, plays this very well up to a certain point. Here, for example, again, White cannot just go for simple promotion like check and a new queen, because this is again a perpetual. Giri found the right move. h4, this is very strong. It gives White some more opportunities with the king and saves the king position. Queen to b3. Now if black would have taken this.
Check.
This is all taken with check. So queen here. King h2. Again, securing the king. And now activating the queen. This was actually quite a strong play by Giri. Queen b6, f3, and rook to b8. And here we have a decisive moment in this game. It's move 37, and Giri doesn't have much time left. He now can win the game with the move e5. After that, black is unable to defend against all the threats. The first important line is if black takes.
Check.
This is going to be decisive. Black has no way to save this. For example,
check.
This is extremely strong with queen and rook attacking in a very brutal way. The king won't survive. e5. What else is there? What else is there that black can do? For example, queen d8.
check, check,
Again, it's all coming with checks, and black won't survive. Yeah, e5 is the winning move, but it wasn't played. Giri played rook d2, and he, with this move, let black off the hook. At the end, a couple of moves later,
check, check,
we reached this, which after king e6 is just an equal ending. So Giri played a draw again, even though he got very close to a win. He just had to find this one little detail, this e5, this position that would have won him the game. Yeah, I don't know what it is. He sometimes gets very close to those wins, and then there's a little something missing for him to really make a win out of it. The next game I want to look at is Van Vele against Wesley So. And we had a Reti opening here, played by Van Vele. And yeah, the position that they got is something, or position type at least, that I have some experience in. I was a bit surprised to see that Van Vele here went with h3, because you usually want to play with knight d4 in such a situation. I think here the position might be equal, but it gives white a little bit more in terms of yeah, chances for an interesting game. Just keep the knight on the board. The general idea is to play the knight to c2 sometimes, play b4, and do something on those dark squares. Again, I don't think that white is objectively better, but it gives a little bit more in terms of interesting play. After h3 and knight d7, now I think Van Vele was probably concerned that c5 and e5 could be used for the black pieces, and he played d4. This is leading to a fairly dry position. Maybe dry is the right word. Yeah, nothing much happened, but black is comfortable. He has very good pieces. He's got a dark squared bishop. All pawns are on light squares. It's very harmonious, and the white game is a little bit without any sting. It's not quite clear what white is doing. However, the way it was played, we can fast forward a little bit. Yeah, black, as mentioned, was a bit better, but white still had chances to fight. And the d-pawn was very important in that regard. In this particular position here on move 30, Van Vele could have played better than he did. In fact, let me check. I have my notes here, but they're completely unsorted. Here, he played this. Bishop c7 covering d8, and here I think so the engine thinks that Van Vele could have drawn the game by taking on d3. However, the important thing is that here you don't play rook d1 and allow c4, which is great for black, but you rather go here intending to pick it up like this. So first stopping any c5, c4 ideas, and only then going for the pawn. This is easier, let's say easier quoted from the engine evaluation than played in the game. That would have been fine for white, equalish. He didn't do that, played b3, and got into more trouble with the black pawns now rolling forward. There is one more interesting moment, and a surprising moment in a way, because here we are on move 39, and now I think white has still very decent chances to draw, if I'm not mistaken. Here after a3 he decided to take this with check, but now the a pawn was basically unstoppable. Instead, what he should have done is to just take this pawn, and after black grabs, take on g6.
Check.
And go rook g5. I actually believe that white has quite decent chances here to draw. Black is down to 2 pawns, and there will be another pawn falling. or it will be more pawns traded. The likelihood of white escaping to an ending with the bare rook against rook and bishop, I think, is fairly high here. For example, king e6, rook h5. Now rook f8 is g4. So probably something like this is going to happen. And the game continues from here. Black only has this e4 pawn, and I don't see black winning this. I mean, currently white also has chances for a fortress, just keeping this covered forever. And also again f3 to trade off the last pawn. I think it's a draw. So
check.
This might have been the decisive mistake, after which So
check.
Was able to promote his pawn.
Check.
And white tried
check.
this, but black can just give up this exchange
check.
because now he's so close to the immediate promotion of the pawn. So a good win here for So, who's got the second win in a row. Yeah, he had an extremely lucky game against Report, who basically threw the whole point away. And now, as it is, a good win in the next round, and you're completely, you're in it in the tournament. So now is on +2 and has an excellent position in the standings. We also need to check, of course, the game of the world champion Magnus Carlsen. Carlsen today had white against Vailly, the Chinese hope, and we got a bishop's game, 2 bishops c4. Carlsen probably went for that because Vailly in recent tournaments had played the Petrov quite often, and we know how solid this opening is. So quite often this is a weapon for players who want to avoid the Petrov. This was played, a good alternative to the more frequently seen knight c6, which might transpose to a regular Italian game. But often the knight is not that great on c6, so black is playing pawn to c6. Yeah, I think the whole development here looks extremely normal. We don't need to look at this in any detail, but we have an interesting moment now, because now Carlsen goes for an interesting pawn formation that is rather frequently seen in the Italian game or in the Rue Lopez sometimes, but you don't see it all that often under these concrete circumstances. He went g4. And what is a bit unusual is that white now has weakened those 2 squares quite a bit, f4 and g5, so he's unable to prevent black from going there. So knight g3 and knight g5. Oftentimes this kind of formation is avoided if black can immediately use those slightly weakened squares. However, Carlsen has correctly evaluated that after bishop takes and d4, this doesn't really play a big role. He's given up the bishop pair, but the remaining pieces for white are fairly active, and d4 gives a bit more space in the center. It feels hard to believe that black is in any trouble here, though. This should be a rather equal position. Bishop f4 and knight e2, covered by queen to f6. So king g2, and now we got this position. Is this an equal position? I'm not sure. It doesn't really feel like black made any mistake in the first 20 moves here. However, if we look at this position now, after queen c1, it feels like white is a little bit better. But why? White here has an idea. The idea is to play f4, f5 and make this bishop on g6 look a bit silly. And this is a bit of an annoyance. Black has to somehow address this idea. You cannot just ignore it. And whatever you do will be a slight concession. However, I have to say that I don't like Vailly's next move. I might be wrong with this assessment. I'm really not quite sure in this game. But I have to say that I dislike the move d5 here for black. he's immediately trying to solve this issue. This bishop is kind of passive, but in the meantime, he's trading this one problem for another problem. And the problem is that white is gaining space with e5. Now he now has here that was wrong. He's got those 4 pawns against 3 and quite some space advantage in the center. Black gets the bishop traded, this problem piece, but white has gained a lot in terms of space, and he also has some ideas, maybe using this actively. Maybe he thought that the knight coming to e4 was an important factor. However, this is very much in doubt. The knight on e4 also is a liability for black. It is currently only supported by the d5 pawn, and white can always attack this with c4. In the game, after b4, we come to another critical situation. b4 is actually taking away squares from the knight. After white plays c4, the black knight does not have a single square to go to. It seems that in this position the best defense is the move f6, attacking this pawn. But after takes and knight e6, I think white is also having a slight advantage. Knight on e6 is a bit annoying. This knight c5 is in the position. It's not much fun to play this with black. It's definitely a bit better for white. In the game, f6 was not played, but he went for g5, and after this he probably is into some serious issues. c4 was played, attacking the base here for the knight, the anchor point for the knight. Yeah, how should black defend now? It's already quite critical. The best might be something like taking and then employ a sit and wait strategy, like rook d7 or something like that. But white has knight f5. Note that this looks active, but it has absolutely no square. There's no square this knight can go to. Maybe there's something else there what he can do. He can stay with this maybe. But here white has this interesting move also. Going for some, forcing some sort of decision. Knight f5 and cd5. This knight has no squares, White is seriously better here. But in the game, Vailly played c5, and after that it's immediately gone. Knight b5 now is extremely strong. Threatens this, looks at the pawn, threatens c takes d5. This is now in fact losing for black. He took there and now has an issue. C takes d5 is also on with the knight being trapped. After this and cd5 already Vailly resigned. He has no playable move. After rook takes, there's knight c7, and now all black pieces are hanging. He loses a full minor piece. A very, I think, in my book at least, surprisingly quick win for white. I mean, it started from a position where you think nothing is going on, more or less, like here, you think nothing is going on. And then somehow here, white got a little something. And then black fell apart extremely quickly. I think this game also shows a bit that Vailly is not yet the most maybe resourceful and stubborn defender, especially in passive positions where you just have to sit and wait in a good way. He's more of an attacking player who's great with his own initiative when he can calculate lines that are actually going forward for him. Very good game though by Carlsen, very typical game. It kind of looks like nothing happens and all of a sudden he's got a big advantage. So the world champion is also on +2 after he had beaten in an earlier game Wojciech in the night off. So a good tournament situation also for the world champion. Yeah, but what does +2 mean? Is that the tournament lead or not? This can only be answered by looking at the game Adiban here with white against Elyanov. Let's have a look. We had a Queen's Indian defense with A3, the Petrosian system. And the line that was played was something that was quite popular maybe 15 years ago. Yeah, this position type was seen quite a bit back then. Not so much nowadays. Nowadays we have most games in the Queen's Gambit and not so much in the Queen's Indian. Mostly a matter of fashion. I don't want to look at this phase of the game that in that much detail. I think it's fairly normal looking. I mean, black probably has equalized. What I don't like, however, is how Adiban plays this from here. I mean, I think he just has an equal position, and sometimes you should just keep it simple and wrap the game up. For example, there was nothing particularly wrong with just taking everything here and put the rook on d1. This is a position that you should absolutely never lose with white. Maybe he did not want to play in such a simple way and try something, but I mean, there is nothing to try here. It is just equal. So okay, he played like this, which is not a mistake or anything. It plays on in a way that you don't really see where this is going. Yeah, h5 by Elyanov, and surprisingly g3 was the reply. Not a move that I would have thought of offhand. It looks a little bit like h5. Okay, please play g3 so that I have h4 later. It's a little bit surprising. It's not a big deal yet, but I still was surprised by the move. Yeah, here also there was a4, which was maybe a little bit better than bishop a2. You know, I'm not quite sure what the purpose of those maneuvers is. Why not just trade everything on c6 like mentioned earlier and make a draw? Anyway, it continues and there's nothing bad happening to white. Yeah,
check.
Even when he took on h4 a little bit later here, nothing much was going on. However, Elyanov now plays it in a way that at least sets some problems, and there is a crisis a little bit later. We can go a couple of moves ahead. We see that black has gained the a pawn, so he has this outside passer, which is something at least where you can hope for something. But in this ending, it was all about one particular position. This one. Here, white, it seems, can draw. At least that's what the engines evaluate this like. If white plays the move c4, white tries to quickly go over to the a pawn. It looks extremely risky still, because black, if we continue this line, black gets this. Now come on, king c3, king d6, king b4, f5, takes, king c5. It still looks bad because of black's activity, but it seems that he has no clear way forward here. White still has the c-pawn. I think this is going to be a draw. At least that's what the engines give, as I mentioned, after a long calculation. And I also would, with the human eye, expect a draw here. He did not play that. He played the move f3. And it seems that after this, note that it's move 40, the ever critical move 40, that after this, the position is probably lost. King e7. And now the very strong move f5 that activates black enormously in this ending. Yeah, I think this was very nicely played by Elyanov. Now he's going to pick up pawns. And black has got now two passed pawns that are relatively far apart from one another. And those far apart pawns are always very difficult to hold. The only really remarkable thing is the winning motif, which is pretty nice. We can forward to that. Yeah, here we are close to the final move of the game. Black to play and win. No? Black wants to make his 2 pawns count, and he has a nice tactical winning idea by taking here and play a2. And the white position here is completely overloaded. There's the threat of promoting, and after this the e-pawn will decisively go to e1 and get a new queen. So what does that mean for the tournament standing? Elyanov has won. Is his 3rd game here with black, and he's leading the tournament alone now with 3.5 out of 5, which is an excellent result. He has not yet played the highest rated guys. He has not yet played Carlsen, for example. The followers are Carlsen and So. They both have +2, and after that a couple of guys with a +1 score. So we are now heading to the first rest day after 4 rounds. The Wednesday is off for the players, and the tournament will continue on Thursday with round 5. I hope you enjoyed the coverage of this round. Thanks for watching.